the home of the do-it-yourself trucker. When everything goes wrong, you gotta Redneckanize.
Basically continue unimpeded.
From investing in inland waterway system to renewed funding to repair rural bridges, injecting funds into infrastructure could help at a time where supply chain chaos continues. Now, Agriculture Secretary Tom Vilsack did talk about infrastructure in his Ag Outlook Forum address this week, and he says infrastructure is another bright spot for agriculture. All right, when we come back, we'll continue our discussion from the Northern Corn and Soybean Expo. Again, that discussion happened before the issues in Ukraine. There's still a lot to cover when we come back.
So yeah, they kept getting into the weeds there with all the shipping. They're talking about these ships and all that. And I was wondering, I was like, how come truck driving, there's talking about wages and truck driver shortage and all that. And, we all know the reason why there's a shortage because the drivers aren't getting paid enough, especially to go over the road. In fact, one of the comments on this page here, it's talking about that. It's like OTR, driver wages is nowhere near kept up with the cost of living in the last 30 years. The mega carriers have had the truck drivers are everywhere mentality that's treated them that way. It says they promise big wages and then they've lied to about bonuses, and all that. So, I mean, we know that that's probably what it is. So, I mean, is there other areas like other jobs that they're getting paid less than what they should, and it's causing a shortage, or are they, I don't know. Some of them those shipping containers, I don't know, they might be running unions or whatever, but I mean, they're based out of foreign countries or whatever. They're not necessarily based out of the United States. So there might be some kind of other government issues coming out of those areas. But as the OTR truck drivers, we all know they keep talking about shortage. And it has nothing to do with, it has everything to do with just them paying the money. Just, it's so funny to me that most drivers that get paid really well are the drivers that are home on the weekends or the drivers that are home every day. Those drivers get paid really well. And it's because you need to be, and we said this before on the Redneckanize, is that, it's the drivers have to be more reliable. And that's why they're paid more, because they're like, we're trusting you to be more reliable. We're compensating you to be more reliable. The industry has taken the newer drivers and stuck them out over the road because that's the less place to be. That's where drivers don't want to be. If you had a choice to be able to do a job, you want to be able to get in a truck, do your short little hauls and then go home. That's what you'd rather be done. Well, over the road is not necessarily the more preferable job. So the newer drivers get stuck doing that. And of course they're paid the less. And now next thing you know, the wages are dropped or the rates have gone down because the bigger carriers are trying to book that freight for the cheap amount so they can get it secured. Because one of those things where the shipper, the person that's paying the wage, they're paying the rates. They're saying, hey, I just need to get it done. I as cheap as possible, whatever it is. And of course the mega carriers, they can lowball it. Because they're just trying to move their trucks, and they might call a guy up and he says, hey, I need you to move some freight, and they'll probably send him a quote $5 a mile, and they'll say no problem. And then next thing you know, they'll call somebody else up and they say, hey, I want you to haul my freight, but I can only pay you $2. Well, if it's going back to get them that $5, we know this as owner operators, we've talked about it before. If you had to take a low rate just so you can get back to wherever you're going to get that top rate, you might even consider that. And a lot of truck drivers don't consider that. They it's what is it? The rule is if you're an owner operator, especially if you're independent, every haul is a head law. There is no such thing as a back haul, because you got to make that money. You got to get the money. And a lot of these carriers, they just created this term back haul where it gets you back, and you take less to get back because you're going to make that money going out. Well, just because so the shippers, their goal is to create every haul they have as a back haul. If you're in Dallas and you're trying to haul a load going to Chicago, you want the guy that lives in Chicago to haul your load because he's going to take it cheaper. But if you're in Chicago trying to get a load to Dallas, you're trying to book that load out of the guy for the guy that lives in Dallas because he'll do it cheaper because he's trying to get back to Dallas. So as a shipper, somebody that's trying to pay somebody, that's your goal is to try to find that. So I just that to me that's funny. Why would anybody take the backhaul rate when it's always going to be the head? It's the head haul. It's the one that's going to make you the most money. You got to try to get the most. And a lot of drivers, they agree with that, and a lot of them do that. They always it's kind of like they always want to work with the shipper to say hey, I'll take care of it for you, but you need to take care of me. And a lot of times if the carrier, a lot of times these shippers, they just don't care. They just want it done cheap. And when the over the road guys can, they can do it for less, getting these over the road guys, especially the ones where, they're in California, but they live in Virginia, or they're in Florida, but they live in Minnesota. Those are the ones these big carriers are trying to push out there and keep out there and keep it still. But But that was just one of the articles, and they're talking about it. They're talking about the cost that the new CDL requirement, which is that you got to have training now. If you want to get your CDL and you've never had a CDL before, now you got to go to the training. Now you got to go through doing all that where you go and you get the schooling done, and that's what they're talking about on that. Let's see here. But as far as that goes, I mean, they've even had it where they've got the 18 and under guys. They I don't need that, but they got the 18 and under guys, and they requiring them to have certain things where they can have what do you call it? What is that called? All of the lane departure warning systems in the trucks. Got to have ELDs. If you're under the age of 21 and you want to get a CDL to go over the road, then you got to have ELDs regardless. No fussing about it and all that. Regular guys, you got to go to school and you got to have required training to get done, and that's costing a lot of money. And the trucking schools, they're taking advantage of it because they're trying to raise the price on it. It's amazing. We talked about that before with regular college students. Hey, the government's going to pay your bills. Well, guess what the colleges do? They just raise the price of it because, hey, the government's guaranteeing the loan. So might as well go ahead and raise the price and get more tenured teachers. Looks like they're trying to turn the trucking schools into that kind of stuff too, where hey, you got to have the school. So you need to pay up because you got to have it. You can't get your CDL without going to school. So that's what it's becoming now. It's where you got to go to school, and that's they call it training requirements, where it's at least 21 days and so many hours, all that stuff. So that's what they're saying here. As we continue on down there, I mean, it says CNBC also had an article talking about the Walmart pay. It says Walmart says it's raising truckers' pay and starting a training program as it grapples with the driver shortage. And it looks like they're starting their own training program where they're dealing with this new law. It says Walmart said Thursday it's raising pay for long haul truck drivers and launching a new program to train the next generation as it seeks in staffing. It relies on a replenished store shelves and warehouse across the country. It says the retailer said truck drivers will now make between $95,000 to $110,000 in their first year with Walmart. The company did not provide the current salary range for the new truck driver at Walmart, but said that they have made an average of $87,500 in their first year. It says Walmart also started a 12-week training program in Sanger, Texas, and in Dover, Delaware, where people can earn a commercial driver's license and join Walmart's fleet. It will cover the cost of earning a license, which can run between $4,000 to $5,000, said company spokesman Ann Hatfield. It says the program will initially be open to only supply chain associates who are near the two training locations, Hatfield said. In the future, she said all Walmart employees will be able to apply for the program. She said that the company hopes to train between 400 to 800 new drivers this year. It says Walmart, the country's largest private employer with 1.6 million workers, is ramping up recruiting efforts for truck drivers as the growth of e-commerce changes its business and it complicates complicated supply chain. It says also it's a tight market for trucking labor. It says the shortage of truck drivers. They go again with all the stats here. It goes, the shortage of truck drivers in the U.S. hit an all-time high for more than 80,000 workers last year, according to the American Trucking Association trade group. It says the lack of workers has stemmed from several factors, according to the trade group, including the grueling hours of long-haul trips, the older average current age of the current drivers, and the small number of women in inquiries. It says the COVID pandemic exaggerated or has exacerbated the shortage. It said is that some truck drivers left the industry with fewer people than went through the training program. That's what we were talking about. We're talking about Walmart. And so in my experience with Walmart, I used to, as an owner operator, I hauled a lot of their freight and talked to a lot of their drivers and talked to a lot of drivers that used to work there. That Walmart even has contractors. They have like companies. I mean, it's even like Landstar or even other companies that have their own company drivers will go in and haul Walmart trailers. People that live in the Central Texas area see Swift has where they haul a lot of Walmart's freight. And a lot of times it's out of different warehouses. They have grocery warehouse and they have a like their what do they call them? The regular retail warehouses. So you have the big Walmart warehouse, like distribution center, that's for retail. And not too far away from there is probably going to be some kind of grocery warehouse that pretty much it's all old school. It's funny to me that they still go like old school where they have lumpers because it's groceries. And it's like, we got to have lumpers. I always find that funny that, so how is that? Why can't Walmart change the way they do things? Why can't that be changed by Walmart? But they can't, they go there. And then, so when we're talking about Walmart, Sanger, Texas, hiring, creating a school so that people in that area can get a light driver's license, CDL. Now you're talking about Sanger. That's probably what, about an hour and a half north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. They can probably do something with a lot of those people that live in that Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's in that Sanger. Oh no, it's not that far away. It's just north of Denton. So I'm thinking more north, but it's only like maybe an hour north of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And you're talking about a huge distribution center. Well, when you try to associate warehouses with Walmart, they also have a grocery warehouse in Cleburne, Texas, which is south of Fort Worth, and that is run. It was at Swift at one time. It may be CR England. It might be Swift now, but it was run by that company, and all the trucks, all the trailers that got the Walmart trailers got pulled out of there were pulled by the carrier that was contracted to pull them. But it's a grocery warehouse, and everybody that's hauling freight inside there, they're refrigerated or something other to that effect, and they're all like, it's all like I said, lumpers and everything like that. And I just don't understand. So, is that freight going to also be included with the training of the new drivers, or are they going to start having Walmart drivers do that themselves, or are they still going to contract it out? Like I said, they still got contractors. What Walmart does is Walmart hires drivers. They always have more freight than they have drivers. They want to keep the driver pool light, and they're hiring drivers. They're growing because they're expanding, like they always do. We see new Walmarts go up all the time, right? Or they get expanded, they get made bigger, where they're taking in more freight. But when it gets busy, and it's a busy time of year, like maybe during the holidays or whatever like that, they never have enough drivers to handle all that. There's never drivers that get sent home and said, there's nothing for you to do. They always have something for those drivers that they hired for them to do something. And then what happens is when they have extra, well, what they do is they send that on different. They got Walmart trailers, but it's different companies, different carriers pulling the freight. So I don't know what that's going to affect, but them increasing pay and all that, because I always thought that Walmart always paid pretty good, even their contractors when they contracted to load. So I'm sure how that's going to increase everything or change things, especially when they start saying they're creating a training program, because I mean that's just going to change things, make things different. So I don't know how that's going to be. So we'll see what happens on that from this announcement. It says Walmart posted about the pay bump and training program Thursday morning on its corporate website. It's about 12,000 truck drivers. It has about 12,000 truck drivers in its workforce. The company hired 4,500 truck drivers in 2021, a larger number than any time in history, the spokeswoman said. It says, for Walmart and other retailers, soaring online sales have shaken up the cadence of business and prompted a race to deliver packages quickly and keep items in stock at stores. I know what they do also. If people out there know about Walmart and how Walmart does things, they're trying to compete with Amazon. So what they're doing is they're creating an essential system to where when you can order from the Walmart app, and they'll either ship it straight to you from wherever they have it stored, or they promise to deliver it that day, like the day of, like within an hour or whatever, from the store. As long as it's at the store, they've got people to deliver it, and whoever they call, whether it be contracted through some other ride sharing thing or something, or it's just Walmart people in general. You might see them down the line where Walmart has actual like little cars or SUVs that they're going to send their employees out to making deliveries. They'll tell you that. I mean, you pull up the app and you want something. If it's at the store, they can, the app will tell you, pick it up within an hour. We'll have it here and come pick it up, or we'll bring it to you for a fee or whatever. And so they did that where it's like a Walmart Prime or some kind of like a Walmart Prime deal, like Amazon Prime, where you get free delivery, for the years, and you pay a certain fee for the year. So we'll see what happens with that. But it all depends on the truckers, whether they can get the freight to the stores or not. And frankly, if they're the ones paying, they say what's going to compare to the driver shortage. I don't think Walmart's pay is the issue. I think Walmart is very strict when it comes to their drivers, as far as like appearance and conduct. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that Walmart faces when they try to, take care of their supply chain with hiring truck drivers. I don't think it has anything to do with pay. There's a lot of drivers that want to go work for Walmart. It's whether or not Walmart will accept them. And you're thinking, well, what else were they looking for? Well, they're looking for people that will wear a uniform, because Walmart has uniforms. And it's not that easy. It's all it is shirts, with blue jeans, and all that stuff. But they want that. They want people that wear uniform shirts properly, keep them washed, keep them clean, that kind of stuff. And you think, how hard is that? It's a lot of people think to most people, it's pretty hard to keep clean shirts, with them at all times. I've seen them. I've been in those warehouses before with those guys. They have they have their shirts on hangers, come from the cleaners or whatever like that. And then the contractors that they hire to come in there and haul, they're wearing dirty t-shirts with the pocket torn off, or, holes in their jeans, or, or even sometimes they come in with their sweatpants or whatever. And it's like Walmart's not going to hire you if you want to dress like that and drive truck. Walmart's not going to hire you. So don't even think about applying. But also too, it has nothing to do with, I mean, even if you wanted to change those standards, you're going to have history standards, work history standards, driving history standards. If you've broken the law at different times, like in Canada, you can't get a CDL if you've ever had a DWI. And then most companies here won't hire if it's in the last 5 or 10 years, they won't touch you. So that kind of thing is going to make a big difference in hiring drivers. The pay is not an issue. To me, pay is for Walmart. Pay is not the issue. There's a lot of companies out there that pay really well and they still can't find drivers because they're looking for that type of driver. You want to make $100,000 a year, then you better act and dress like you make $100,000 a year. So, and I think that's probably one of the biggest standards. I don't know. To me, that's one of the things that that trucking probably has the biggest issue with, is just being presentable, and then getting hired by these companies. And like I said, it's about the history. If you ever a person that's willing to be a truck driver and be over the road, we've talked about this before. A person that's ever been a truck driver and willing to be over the road, they've probably had checkered past, and a lot of these companies, they won't hire him. It's like, well, we can't find good drivers. No, he's a good driver. You just don't like him because maybe he, got into a bar fight, maybe 8 years ago, or got a DWI 12 years ago, and you don't, or maybe he's had 6 jobs in the last 5 years. You don't want to touch him. And it's like, you're going to give him a shot or not. Sometimes people, they're just, they're just trying to make things better for themselves, and all they need is that one good shot, that one chance. And some of them need more than one, but sometimes all it takes is one, and then they're set for life. They'll never have a problem with that again. So you never know what happens with that. And that was from CNBC, that article. A lot of them made a deal on there. So that was interesting. Yahoo Finance also made an article about offering the big salary for Walmart, changed the salary and everything. They posted in there. So everybody's out there. We can go search it up and talk it up and see how it is. So